Tonight, Channel 8 continues its investigation into a man's mysterious mental breakdown last December. We now bring you, for the first time, the witnesses and their stories of what occurred that night as Edgar Allan slid into insanity, due to the simple rarity of a raven flying into his home. Once upon a midnight dreary, while he pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while he nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at his chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," he muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more."
Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly he wished the morrow, vainly had sought to borrow from his books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden who the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore.
And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled him, filled him with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of his heart, he stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance on my chamber door, that it is, and nothing more."
Presently his soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said he, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I was scarce sure I heard you." Here he opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more.
Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, something louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more."
Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore.
Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord and lady perched above his chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas,
Just above his chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more.
then the ebony bird beguiling his sad fancy into smiling, by the grave stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," he said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore."
Much he marveled this ungainly fell to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast, upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore.
But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore."
Startled at the stillness broke him by reply so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said he, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom a merciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore."
But the raven was still beguiling all his sad soul into smiling, and straight he wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, he betook himself to linking, fancy unto fancy, thinking, "What is this ominous bird of yore? What this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore?"
This I said, engaged in guessing. but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore.
Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footballs tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, he cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophet, said he, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophet, said he, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within a distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Be that our sign of parting, bird or fiend, he shrieked up starting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above his chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. Shall be lifted nevermore.
We now bring... Start again.
Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken.
But the raven was still sitting. Okay, not that one.
Oh my god, I'm on film.
Thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by